Red Bank teacher Vivian Woods got the thrill of her life when she competed to be the first school teacher in space. She was interviewed in Nashville and selected as a state finalist. While Woods didn't make the national finals, she fell in love with the space program. She was proud to tell her class about the shuttle and proud that they could see it lift off with a teacher, Christa McAuliffe, on board.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's just go. We have liftoff. We have liftoff.
As the fifth graders were enjoying this special treat, seconds after the blast-off, Woods began to see something had gone wrong.
Accelerating towards 2,000 miles an hour.
Seconds after leaving the launch pad, according to NASA, has exploded in mid-air. No word yet on if there are any survivors. Let's replay the launch here and show you, we'll continue to watch the picture and show you what happened shortly after liftoff.
15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
Now for Vivian Woods and her fifth grade class, the horror began to sink in.
I think at this time, under the circumstances, it might be appropriate for those of you who wish to participate in a moment of silent prayer for the shuttle crew and Christa McAuliffe, the teacher in space. If you'd like to right now.
And in this moment of silent prayer, Vivian Woods was no doubt thinking it could have been her among the 7-member Challenger crew. Ellen Maynard, Action News.
While space officials are still trying to piece together why the Shuttle Challenger exploded, the rest of the country is in mourning. As Mary Ellen Loker reports, local residents say they will always remember today's ill-fated flight as a national tragedy.
Whether you actually saw the shuttle burst into flames or simply heard about it, no one was untouched by the overwhelming tragedy. People huddled near television sets throughout the day wherever they could, trying to reconfirm in their minds the impact of what was to be Challenger's final flight. Do you think you always remember where you were and remember seeing this?
No doubt, no doubt. It's horrible. It's horrible. Heart sort of stopped beating, you know, just feel for the families, you know, that because that school teacher, you know, was involved in it, and you know, it was just really, you know, terrible thing to happen.
When it came on the radio, it was just, you were just numbed, you know, you just couldn't believe it, like it's a dream, you know, that had happened. You just felt shocked.
I was shocked. Reminded me a lot of President Kennedy's death in '63. I don't know where the analogy comes, but it was a national tragedy.
It may be too soon to tell what impact, if any, this tragedy will have on the space program, yet many people, in reacting to the apparent deaths of the 7 travelers aboard the Shuttle Challenger, couldn't help but also look at the program we may have been starting to take for granted.
After so many missions and all, you just, that factor you don't think about anymore, and so it kind of hits, you know, makes you wonder just how secure we are, the space program and everything, so it's sad.
I don't think it's a reason to stop it. I think we ought to go on because the good outweighs the bad on that.
We take for granted that these space shots are always just going to go off like clockwork, and I guess this just brings the mortality back into it all.
You've been hearing about the space program since you're a little kid and everything, and now the worst tragedy has ever happened has to happen. You know, you'll never forget something like that.
Indeed, it's like indelible ink, tragedy etched upon our minds forever. But there's also a feeling of patriotism that accompanies our grief for the 7 flight members and their families, and to probably every American, those who died will always be heroes because they lost their lives pioneering our last frontier. Mary Ellen Loker, Action News.
It began with a dream coming true for Christa McAuliffe, a wish so many Americans have had for the thrill of space travel. A teacher, a wife, a mother, chosen from over 11,000 applicants to be the first private citizen in space. Weeks of training and anticipation were all to have come together this morning for Christa, for her family, and for the school children that have meant so much to her. But no one could have known the tragedy that was to strike. A hard freeze and an overnight low of 24 degrees at Cape Canaveral left ice on the launch pad this morning. All other indications were good after several days of weather-related delays. Shortly after 8 a.m., a fire detector unit on board the craft was causing some problems, and an electronic component was replaced. All systems were then go. Launch was rescheduled for 9:38. Weather conditions again caused some concern, however, and further delays set the fatal liftoff for 11:38 a.m. Eastern Time. 7 crew members boarded the Space Shuttle Challenger. Veteran Commander Dick Scobie, pilot Mike Smith, crew members Judy Resnick, Ellison Onizuka, Ron McNair, and Greg Jarvis, and New Hampshire schoolteacher Christa McAuliffe. At 11:38, a crowd of VIP guests, including Christa's parents and members of her third-grade class, witnessed a perfect liftoff into the southern Florida skies. Mission Control in Houston reported no problems whatsoever, and all went well for just over 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Control program confirmed. Challenger now heading down range. We'll throttle down to 65% shortly. Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Velocity 2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles, downrange distance 3 nautical miles.
Then came the final command for full throttle.
Throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
A massive explosion of the craft's volatile oxygen and hydrogen fuel destroyed the shuttle and sent debris raining down into the ocean below.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them.
Yesterday, Vivian Woods and her 5th grade class watched in stunned silence as the shuttle disaster unfolded. Woods had become very involved in the shuttle program through a competition to become the first teacher in space. At this time, Woods tried to contain her grief. She said she didn't want her children to see her cry. Since then, Woods says she's had a little time to reflect on the tragedy. Today, she wanted to give us her feelings on the death of the shuttle crew, especially about Christa McAuliffe, the first teacher in space. Woods read words she'd written while trying to come to terms with what had happened.
I regret most not having had the opportunity to have asked her, what would you have me do for America's students after you're gone? I feel so ill-prepared and inadequate to carry your torch that you've rekindled in America's educational program. What do you want me to say, Christa, about NASA's future and the eternal educational value that would have been gleaned from your space lessons? It keeps coming into my mind, Christa, that you want America's educators to go on, daring to inspire and challenge America's youth to reach beyond their abilities and feel the same commitment you did. I'm here, Lord, send me.
Woods says she expressed these feelings to her class.
They realize, I think, that I was committed, that I really felt strongly that our future was very dependent on the space program. It still is. I hope nothing will change. If anything, maybe we should be committed to her memory and the memory of the shuttle crew to sing that it's continued, because their lives should not be in vain.
And her students seem to understand.
It was sad, but I'm glad that they had to die instantly and they didn't have any pain. And that now if they make a new shuttle, I hope it'll be better and we won't have any more mistakes. And hope they rest in peace.
And I would ask that in sweet memory and tribute to Christa McAuliffe and the shuttle crew that was lost yesterday, in support of our NASA Teacher in Space program, please show your love and understanding by sending cards or letters to those educators you've appreciated throughout the years. And even if by chance you should come across any of them, give them a hug. We need it right now. Thank you.
Ellen Maynard, Action News.